So in this tutorial, it's going to be a bit different than my usual tutorials. It's going to be very long. My tutorials are normally about 5-10 minutes long, but this one I'm going to try and make about an hour. It's going to have a lot of boring bits in it probably, but it's just going to show you how I create a character from beginning to, designing it in Photoshop, rigging it, and then bringing it into Cartoon Animator, and then sorting out the 360 rig inside the software. So it's going to be a bit longer than my usual videos. Might get a bit boring, but I will put chapter marks in it as well, just so you can just jump to certain chapters if you want to. So let's load up Photoshop and let's get started. So I tend to use Photoshop for all my characters, and I know a lot of people can use Illustrator. I mean, I've done design for 15 years and I've never managed to get my head around Illustrator, so I tend to do all my characters inside Photoshop because I know it pretty well, and I do it all with shapes, and I do it all with warp shapes and things like that. So I'm just going to start off by creating a shape and then warping it. So I'm going to create the body of the penguin this way, and I'm just going to duplicate the shape and just shrink it down a bit, and that will kind of be its tummy area. So let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, and then let's just warp it a little bit more. Let's shrink it down and then warp it again, just so it's not exact looking shape as the actual body itself. So let's make that a little bit bigger. Okay. So next we want to do is we want to do the back of where the eyes are going to be. So we will draw a shape there and then just change the colour to the same colour as the body, as the tummy, sorry. Let's move it up to where the eyes would be. And just duplicate it and move that over. So we're using shapes really to build our characters. So now we want to make the actual eye, so we'll draw another shape and have that bit brighter just so we can see it. And we'll move it to there, and then duplicate it and move it to the right. Okay, that's looking good. Let's move them down a little bit. I would normally fast forward these bits, but I just want to show it to you in real time. So now we want to make the iris, so we'll just choose black and make a new shape. Oops, and then just change the colour of that to black. There you go. So let's bring that up a little bit. So that's our iris, and let's just duplicate that. So we've got our left and our right. Just label these. We've got an eye, and that's the eye white, but let's just call that eye. Now I'm just going to make some folders and put those into a new folder. Okay, I'm just going to rasterize those and make that into a mask of that shape. Turn those off. Okay, so now we've got a mask of each eye. Now I'll do this basically just so I can see what the irises will look like, because inside the software you can obviously mask the eye, so the iris can go around the eye. So I've just put them into folders just so I can, as you can see, just bring them up and down just so you get an idea of what sizes you want the irises to be, because you can see how they'll kind of work inside the software, inside Cartoon Animator. So there you go, look. So you can move it around and it will mask itself off. Okay, let's call that left eye and we'll call the other one right eye. Okay, now we want to make, let's just change the radius of 300 so we get a bit more of a curve to it. So now we want to make the beak. Sorry. So we'll make a shape and we'll use the warp tool to kind of give it a bit of a beak looking shape. So we want to do the top beak first. And we'll bend those up a bit. So it's like that. I'll just double click and change the colour. So we'll make it yellow. Yellowy orange, but yellowy kind of colour. Now we want to make the bottom beak. So we'll just duplicate that and then rotate it around and bring it down. So zoom in a little bit. Now you want to warp the bottom beak a little bit because it wouldn't be exactly the same as the top. So let's bring that down. Oops, it's gone a bit funky over there. So let's bring it back down again. And do that again. There you go, it looks a bit better. Okay, so this will be its mouth / beak open. So we'll call it bottom mouth, and we'll call this one here top mouth. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to colour the background where the gap is. We want to give it a colour behind it so it looks like it's the back of the mouth. So we'll draw a new shape and we'll move that underneath everything, and we will warp it again just so it fills in the shape a bit better. Otherwise it was just a circle behind the mouth. Just kind of, yes. Then we'll double click on that and we'll change the colour. So we'll make it dark. That will do us. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we want to make a wing. So with the shape tool, we'll draw an oval. Move that to the top. Just double click inside it and give it colour, same colour as the body. And then again with the transform path warp tool, you want to bend it out a little bit just so it looks a bit more like a wing. That will do us. It's not my most elaborate character of all time, but it will give you a good idea of how I do these things. So we want to bring the anchor point up to the top, and then we can rotate it, pivot it from that point. So we'll move that over to the body. Move that little anchor point over as well. Okay, that's looking all right. We'll call that right arm. Let's bring it out a little bit more. I might have to warp it again. Let's warp it so it looks like it's coming from the body a bit better. So move that up at the top, bring that in a little bit, and that will do us. So let's duplicate that, and then we'll call it this left arm. And then we'll flip it. And then move it over to the right side. Or the left side. Well, the left arm on the right side. I must admit, I get a bit confused sometimes on labelling things because I never know if it's left side or the right side. Because I know it's left and right on this side, but then when it goes into the software, sometimes you have to say that it's right when it's left. It gets a bit confusing. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to warp the tummy area, just so it makes it look like it blends in with the shape behind the eyes a bit more. So let's bring these out. I'm kind of winging it as we go along, so I'm sure I'm going to change this character over the next half an hour or so. Let's make that a bit brighter because it's looking a bit dark. So we'll make it a bit whiter, and then we'll do the same for the colour shapes behind the eyes. And I think I'm going to change the actual penguin colour because purple looks a bit odd. So let's change that to blue. No, let's just change it probably, I reckon grey is probably the best colour. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Okay, so we'll copy that colour to the wings as well. So let's do the left wing and the right wing. Okay, so now what we want to do is just save our character first, because my computer sometimes crashes, and then the last thing you want to do is lose a character that you're designing. So we'll save that into a, go to tutorials, make a new folder, we'll call this penguin, and then we'll call the character penguin. Okay, let's go OK. Okay then. So we've got a top mouth, and we'll just group those into a group, and we'll call that mouth open because the beak's slightly open. Then just so we've got the same shapes again for the mouth closed, we'll just duplicate it and we'll call this mouth closed. Oh, we just noticed we haven't got the background of the mouth, so if I'd label this properly I'll be able to find it easier. So if I click these on and off I'll be able to find it shortly, hopefully. There you go. So let's just move that underneath the top and the bottom mouth, and then we'll duplicate that, and then we'll put it into the folder that we've got turned on, and there you go, you can see the backgrounds appeared. So now what we want to do is we want to make it look like the mouth is closed. So with the bottom mouth we'll move that up a bit, turn the background on, and then we'll just warp or transform that so it fits inside the mouth properly. So turn them on and off, you get a little idea of what the mouth would look like when it's open and closed. So that's looking good. Now we have to do the left eye and the right eye. We've got them open at the moment, but we need to do the closed position. So we'll call these normal. So right eye normal and left eye normal. And we'll just duplicate that. Don't need to do this like this, but we'll just call it closed. And then we'll call that closed. It's kind of just a reminder that I need to do these. So okay, so in the closed group, if I get the shape tool, make a shape of just literally a line, just to show that the eyes are closed, and then we'll choose grey and we'll make it a little bit darker just so you can see it against the background of the character. And then we'll move that inside the left eye closed folder. We'll sort out all these folders and label them in a minute. So let's just delete those. So now in there we've just got the shape for the eye closed. And just so it's exactly the same, we'll duplicate that, and then we'll move that into the right eye closed folder. Delete the files that are in there, move those into the folder, and then delete the mask. Like I said, it's a bit of a long-winded way of doing this, but this is how I do it. I'm sure there's a lot of ways I can probably speed this up, but this is my little workflow. Okay, so there are our eyes closed. So let's just close those folders up for the minute. We'll do all the folder structure in a minute. Okay, so we've now got our left eye closed, left eye normal, and then right eye closed and right eye normal, and so on. Bring that in a little bit. Right then, so now we've got the shapes all created for our very, very basic character. Let's just start sorting the files out, because I always work quite messy and then sort things out as I'm going along once I've designed the character. So that's the face. Just trying to work out now what all the face elements and what are the back elements. So that's our head. And that will be our body. Put these all inside the body folder. And that's our face. Okay. So I've split them up between face, head and body. So these are our body files. So let's just put these into groups as well. So we'll call this left arm. Put left arm inside left arm. And then right arm, make a file of that. And we'll call that right arm. Put right arm inside it. And then you close those down. Just doing that just so I've got a backup of the actual left and the right arm. I'm just going to label them red. Put them at the bottom and kind of forget about them until later. Right. And then we've got our... So these are our arms, and what I want to do is I want to make it so they kind of... I don't necessarily need to put have it so there's a top and a bottom to this arm, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to have it so there's a little pivot point on it. So I normally draw a shape out where I want the actual pivot point to be, just so they kind of match up. So I put a shape in there because obviously it has to rotate a circle. Well, not obviously, but that's what it does do. So that's the circle. Now what I need to do, if I just rasterize these layers, and then mask that based on a circle. Okay. Oops. And then what I want to do is colour the mask back in again. So let's just get that wire, make it 100%. Oops, needs to be on that colour. So there you go. I've got the bottom to the wing arm. I'm calling it arm because that's what I've got to label it as, but it is really the wing, isn't it? So, right. So that's the bottom of the wing. And now what I want to do is do the same process again, but for the top wing. So basing that circle as the pivot point, make that into a mask, and then do that. So then you've got the top wing, convert that to smart object. So now that circle is going to be basically halfway between the top and the bottom wing. So when I bend it, it should bend right on that circle. Okay. And if you just bring that little pivot point up, there you go. So that's how you get the arms. You can do that with the arms, and you can do that with legs for your characters, and the wrists. I'll do a tutorial in a bit more detail actually with how I do that down the line. Okay. And then what you want to do, exactly the same to the left arm. I mean, I could really just duplicate the arm really, but let's just do it again. So make sure it fits inside the shape, and we'll duplicate that shape. You actually don't have to rasterize these. I'm just rasterizing them for some reason. You could leave them as shapes. Okay, so we'll select the mask for that. Invert it. Oops, no, sorry, didn't need to invert that. Let's go back. Okay. And then using the brush tool, we'll draw that back in again. So we're drawing the mask back in for the bottom wing. And then we'll do, just go convert that to thingy. So then we'll do exactly the same for the top. So we'll draw that back in again. Oops, make it a bit neater. Okay, so turn that back on again, a little pivot point. Get to the very center of that. Let's convert that to smart objects. Turn that off. Get our pivot point or anchor point or whatever they call it. So it's dead in the center of that crosshair. And there you go, that bends as well. I mean, you could get the wings that actually just bends, but I've got it so it kind of rotates, because I kind of prefer that really. So let's label this bottom arm. Then we'll label this top arm. And we'll do the same to the right arm. So we'll call that bottom arm. And we'll call this top arm. You can delete those now because I just had those as safety. Okay, so that's our left arm and our right arm. I still need to sort the file structure out for that. Now let's call that tummy. Okay, now in the face. We'll make sure that these have got the right structures of the head bone. And we'll call this left eye and then right eye. And we've got the left eye back and the right eye back. So these are the white bits behind the eyes. So not the eye whites, the kind of like slightly grey thing behind the eyes on the body. Oops. I'm just going to load up this character here because I'm just going to duplicate these in there because I need the little symbol as well because I was just literally labelling files there. So there you go. I've got the little icon in there now. So let's just do that again. Sorry about that. So we'll call that, let's delete that, and we'll call it, oops. Okay, so we'll call that left eye. And let's just move that to where the left eye should be. And then we'll duplicate it, and then we'll call that right eye. So the reason why I've done this again is because I didn't actually have the icon. So I've now got the icon there now. And we will put those into the positions where we want them to be. So that's the right eye and the left eye. Let's duplicate it again. And we'll call that left eye back. So that's going to be for the left eye back. So that grey colour. It can probably stay where it is. And then I'll duplicate that and I'll call that right eye back. This is just so that when I'm doing the 360 head turn, I can move those background bits as well behind the eyes. So, okay, so we've got a right eye back, left eye back. Then duplicate the layer one more time, and we'll call that mouth. So we'll move that down to where the mouth is going to be, or the beak really, but let's call it mouth. Okay, so that's our bones for our face. And now I'll call that one, I'll just duplicate it and call that one tummy, because we'll need that for when we go down later on. Let's do that now. Make a new folder, because that's going to be for our body rig. Let's put a head bone there. Oh no, sorry, we're going to do put the parts in now for the center. So let's move all those elements of the face. And we'll move those into center. You can do left and right, but I'm just going to do center. So you need to make sure you've got folders and groups that have got exactly the same name as the bone. So I'm just copying the name of the bone and putting those into the center. So we've got the right eye, make a folder called the left eye, and then move the left eye inside it, because the bones have to be labeled exactly the same. The folder, sorry, of the images have to be labeled exactly the same as the bones. Okay, so we've got a right eye and left eye, and we've got bones as well called that. And then we need to do another folder called mouth. So we can move all of our mouth graphics inside mouth. Okay, so we've got a mouth, right eye, left eye. Let's move the eyes up to the top. So we've got right eye, left eye, and mouth. Okay, sorry, a bit clicking around here. So that is going to be our left eye back. Make a folder for that. Copy the name in there, paste it in there. Move that layer inside the group, and then move the group. Let's just make sure it's okay. So that one there is called right eye back. Oops. Okay, and now just move those up into the center folder. Okay. I can delete that now. And I'll delete that now as well. Okay. So I call this one tummy. Put that inside there. Move that down underneath it, because that's at the very bottom. Right then, so that's our face done. So remove that folder. We've got right eye, left eye, and line back. Yep. Save it. Okay, so here I'm just gonna sort a few files out of the body. So we'll call that layer body, and then we'll duplicate that. And then we'll call this layer face. It's just so then I've got the option to bend the face and the body. So what I'm going to do is, like I did with the arms, is create a big circle just so I can work out the rotation point of it. Let's make that red so that's more easier to see. Bring that up. Okay. Should be okay. Let's bring it up a little bit. Just trying to work out the actual where I want the head and the body to be. Have two set, the join point for the head and the body if I want to rotate them. Right, so I'm just going to rasterize that layer, make it into a mask, and then put the mask onto. If I just duplicate the layers first, make them into a folder, and just call it back up again like I did for the arms, because I want to make sure I don't mess this up. Let's rasterize those two layers. So I put a mask onto that, onto the body, and with our brush tool we'll draw that bottom bit back in again. Okay, this is just so we've got a body and also a face that blends into the same shape. So we'll copy that mask and we'll put the mask onto the face layer, and like we did for the body, we'll draw that back in with the tool like that. So now we've got a body and a face that look like they're the same shape, but they're two different shapes, and they should rotate in the center. So let's drag these little ruler marks into the center of the shape. Bring the rotation anchor point thing to the center, and there you go. The head and the body, they bend on the same pivot points. So let's just delete that now. So we need to put the face layer into the center. So we'll call this face, this folder, and then we'll drag and drop that folder into the center. Then drag that into the correct folder for it. Move it to the bottom, but make sure you're actually inside the center folders. And then we'll duplicate it, and then we'll call it mask. Okay, so that's that. So refer back to this character here. Yeah, it's face. Okay, so that's that. And we'll give it a bone as well, so we'll call that face. So it's got its bone now, because the bone needs to have a folder with the same name. So let's bring that up to where the face would be. So we've got our face, our talking head, the bones, and all the images with the same names as the bones inside the head bone. Great. Let's call that normal. Okay, right click on that and go to convert to smart objects. I tend to do this just so I go back inside the graphics again if I need to do any more tweaks instead of flattening things. And I'm going to call this one mouth open. And then we'll convert it to smart objects. Okay, so you've got your normal and your mouth open. So that's your mouth sprite sorted. Now, for the eyes, you want to do a few different things inside these. So call that normal. That's for our normal eye. It's going to disable the mask now because we don't need that anymore. Because the mask was just so we can see what the iris looked like inside it when it was going outside the mask. So we'll call that iris. And then we'll move that layer inside that. And then we'll make another folder and we'll call that eye white. And we'll move that inside there. Okay. Move that underneath the iris. Okay, so we can delete that now. That's right. And then make a new folder. Oops. Just duplicate that folder. And we'll call that mask. And we'll move that so it's underneath the eye white. So that's that eye done. Then we'll call this one eye closed. So there's nothing going to be in the iris folder, but I still call it, you give it a folder, so just leave it empty. And we'll call this one eye white. And that group we'll call eye white, and then put the eye white inside there. Then duplicate it, and then we'll call it mask. And then again, we'll move the eye white above the mask. Oops, a bit tricky. There you go. Right, so you've now got your eye normal, well, eye open, which is basically normal, and then we've got our eye closed. So we now need to do that for the left eye. So we'll do exactly the same process again. Call that normal. Make a folder, and we'll call that iris. And we'll move the iris inside that group, inside that folder, sorry. And then we'll do one, and we'll call that eye white. Move that inside the folder. Great. Duplicate the folder, or duplicate the group, and call that mask. And then again, happens to the iris is at the top, followed by the eye white, and then the mask. Now we can delete that mask. Oops, let's do it that way. Yep. Brilliant. So that's the normal eye. And then for the left eye closed, we'll call it eye closed. Make a folder. Oops, make a folder, and we'll call that iris. And then we'll make another folder and call that eye white. Because the iris, there's no iris, so we still need a folder. So we'll drag that layer into the eye white, and then duplicate that group, and then we'll call that mask. Delete that file. Okay, so the iris is at the top, followed by the eye white. Whoops. There you go. Oh no, a second. You can do it a few different ways, but let's just move the iris there. So iris, eye white, and then mask. Okay, so that's our left eye and our right eye sorted. Okay, that's our face, and we've got a mask for this face as well. We'll call this one, this is for the body. That's our image. Okay, so we want to move our image files inside the RL_image folder. Okay, so we've got our body and we've got our arms. Okay, just delete that little backup folder I made. Alright then, so this would be fairly easy to rig up. So we've got that left arm, and we'll call this right arm. And that's our body. Okay, put that file inside our body folder. And then we need to make folders for our top and our bottom arms for each arm. Okay, I'm actually just going to open up this character here and copy this bone structure as well inside it, so duplicate that into penguin. Oops. Okay, so we've got a lot of bone files there. So move that inside the bone folder. So we'll move them to the very bottom of the character. That's a root and our object pivot point. I'm just going to duplicate that icon and I need to now. I need to give me a second to move that to the bottom. Let's duplicate that. Bone 2. Okay. So this is going to be, oops, bone 2 and bone 3. Okay, so I've got bones from the top, middle and the bottom of the character. So from bone 3 to bone 4. And then bone 4 to bone 5. And then bone 5, duplicate that. To bone 6. And then we'll do this one as bone, what do we need to do here? Bone 7, so that's 6 to 7. Oh no, we want to go as bone 3 to bone 7. So bone 7 is going to be the other side. So then we'll do bone 7 to bone 8. And then bone 8 to bone 9. Move that to the top. Sort these layers out a little bit. Sometimes get these layers wrong, and I sometimes get the labelling wrong as well. So when I bring it inside Cartoon Animator, it will sort of screw up the rig a little bit. So you might have to sort of just methodically go through the labels and the file structures and things like that, because sometimes it might be a different bone needs to go from one bone to another. But I think this is right. I might have to go from bone 2. I'm not sure. It makes sense to go from bone 2, but I'm just going to see if that works. Okay, so we've got our layers all sorted there. We've got all of our bones up. And we've got all the things labelled correctly in the folders. So bone 1. Okay, so that needs to be called bone 1. You could do things differently. There's different ways you can label the files, but this one here seems to work for this type of shaped character. Bone 3, bone 4, 4, 5, 5, 6. Okay. So that's bone 5. And bone 6. So this bit's a bit boring. Sometimes it's a lot of trial and error. So to make sure the bones have got the image has got the same names as the bones, otherwise they won't work properly. So I'm just trying to work out what these images should be labelled as. make a new folder for this. So make a folder for bone 6. Because even though you label them, they have to have their own folders as well. Okay. Move that down so it's outside that folder. So bone 7. Copy that. I mean, I could type it, but I was going to copy and paste it so I know it's exactly the same file name. Okay, bone 8. Drag and drop that file inside that folder. Bone 1. Okay, so we've got bone 1. Delete that folder. Delete the background. Okay, I think that's it. Right, so let's save that. Okay, so let's go for the folders here. So we've got the mouth, and we've got smile open. Got a few extra mouth shapes in there. Fast forwarded on a little bit. So now we're inside Cartoon Animator, and we'll bring in our character, and fingers crossed it's going to bring in okay. Okay, no errors so far. It's always a good sign. Okay, the skeleton looks a bit strange. It doesn't look how I thought it would look. I'm sure there's a few bones in there that I've got labelled wrong, because as you can see on the right hand side from the spine there's like a gap missing. I don't know why that is, but it's working and it hasn't come up with any errors, even though I'm surprised actually. I would have thought that would have come up with an error, but it hasn't. Okay, so it's worked, it's gone in there. So now let's just go through the face rigging, the 360 head creator in fact. So what I tend to do, this is my favourite part actually, I copy the centre position into every single angle like this. There might be a quicker way of doing this. My machine's a bit slow at the moment actually, I've got a big render going on, but copy that into each corner. Takes a bit of time. Okay, and one more. Then preview it and then just wiggle around so you can see the face is staying still, which is great. So now what you want to do is move all your sprites to the left. I'm just going to assume that left is that way, right is the other way, because otherwise it gets a bit confusing. So move everything to the left. I normally do it by exactly the same amount of points. So now let's just move the mouth / beak. Okay, and now we want to move the bits behind the eyes as well. Just trying to work out which way they're going to move. So let's just move the tummy first. So that will go that way. Let's move those over that way a little bit. Move those over as well. Okay, so now we've moved all of... Okay, let's move the beak a little bit more. And move that back a bit. I'm kind of eyeballing this as we go along. Alright, so now you can see that their sprites are now moving to the left, and that's great. Now we want to do the same to the right side. Now you can mirror basically the position of the sprites, but I tend to like doing it manually actually, because sometimes I feel like it needs to move a little bit more than literally just the mirror image. So let's move the beak over as well, and move the tummy over, and move the back of the eye, and move that back of the eye. Let's move that back a little bit. Okay. Then we'll copy the centre to the top and the centre to the bottom. Then we'll copy the right side to the right, sorry, the left side to the right top, and also the right bottom. So that's to the top. Copy that, paste it in the bottom. That was the left, sorry. And now do the same to the right side. So the right, copy the centre, and then copy that Oops, copy that into the top, and then copy that into the bottom. Okay, and then go preview and go left and right, and there you go. You've got your head turning left and right, and that's great. That's exactly what you want this character to be doing. Okay, then I deform the shapes a little bit, because otherwise it's all symmetrical and it looks a bit odd. So I tend to just deform the shapes just a little bit, just so your eye gets tricked into a bit more motion happening as the head's turning. So again, I'm just eyeballing it to get it looking kind of right. And then I'll do the same to that side. Again, I know this is a really long and boring tutorial, but it kind of shows you in real time creating a character. Alright, so now because I've deformed it, I'm just going to copy those. It's the left side to the top and the bottom, and the right side. Oops. And the right side, copy the center one and paste it into the top, and then copy that and paste it into the bottom. Okay, so there you go. We've got our left and our right head turn. It's looking good. It's not looking amazing, but it's looking okay. Right, I'm just going to bend the eye a little bit as well. You can fine tune these quite a bit. I don't even know why I'm really fine tuning it now, but that would do for the left side. Do the same for the right side. And again, because I've moved things, so I'm just going to copy that to the top and the bottom for each side. I do this a lot. I kind of do things and then I tweak it, and then I do them again, and then copy and paste the corners and everything like that. So, all right, so we've got the left and the right side looking okay. Should probably change those as well. So you're kind of testing it as you're doing it. Oops, I've actually got down the wrong one, but let's copy that into the middle, and then copy the middle into the top. Yeah. Let's move that side as well, actually. And again, because I've changed it, oops, I can't change that one, because that was the body. Right, so we'll copy that to the top, and then we'll copy that and paste it into the bottom. And we'll do the same like we just done to the left side, now we'll do it to the right side. So we'll move that in, move that one in as well. And we'll copy that from the center to the top, and then the center to the bottom. So sorry about that, I just wanted to get that looking a little bit better. It's looking a bit odd. That's okay. And let's just change it a little bit. So center, top, center, bottom, because it was looking a bit strange. Now do the same to the right side. Bring that out a little bit. And we'll copy that from center to the top, center to the bottom. Like I was saying, you can fine tune this as much as you want. Still looking a bit strange, but that's not looking too bad. Okay. Should probably bring the body out a little bit. Let's just copy that again. Center, top, center, bottom. Center, top, center, bottom. Okay, now we want to do the looking up. So you basically bring all the sprites and you push all the sprites up. So we'll move that eye up, let's move this eye up. And we'll move the beak or mouth, or if you want to call it, up. Okay. And also behind the eyes, let's move those up a little bit. Okay. And then move the tummy up a little bit as well. And then we want to do the same. Move it up a little bit more. Okay, now we want to do the same, but we want to do it so it's all looking down. So we'll do exactly what we just done, but we'll go down. So with the y-axis, let's bring the numbers down a bit. So we'll bring the back of the eyes down, we'll bring the eyes down, and we'll bring the beak down. Okay, so we've got our up, and then we've got our down. Oops, let's move the tummy down a bit as well. Okay, cool. So we've got up. Now what we want to do is we want to do the left corner. So what I tend to do is I copy the y-axis for each element. And within reason this works, I paste it into the y-axis of the corners. And it always looks a bit strange until you finish. So now do the back of the eye, copy that, and then paste that into the y. Now go back into the center again. And let's check that. And we want to do the same to the back of the right eye. Let's just check these. Copy that. Paste the eye into the Y, and then that eye we copy that position and paste it into the Y. Yeah. And now do the same to the mouth. Copy the Y, and paste it into the Y of that position. Yeah. And now what we want to do is copy that again and do it into the right. And copy the back of the eye, copy the Y again, and then paste it into the Y on the right corner. And then do the same to the eye, so copy that, then paste it into the Y of that position. And again, we want to do it to the right eye, left eye actually, it's called. And then we'll do the mouth and paste that into that position. Okay, so that's the top. Oops, just do the stomach as well. Paste that in. Okay, so we want to do exactly the same again, but for the bottom positions. So we copy the Y again from the center, and we'll paste that into each corner, and then do it again. So the Y of the left eye back, paste that into both sides like that. I think I missed something here actually. Yeah, that's it. I need to paste that in because I missed that one. So we do that, the right eye back. Brilliant. Now we obviously want to do the eyes. Let's just do the tummy while we're here actually. So paste that in. Paste that in to the Y. And now we'll do the right eye. Copy the Y axis. Paste it into the bottom left hand corner Y axis. And then let's copy the left eye. Put that into the y-axis and that y-axis. Now we need to do the beak, so we'll copy the y-axis of that and we'll go to the bottom left corner, paste that into the y-axis, and then we'll do the same to the right bottom corner. Okay, let's check the stomach again, so that is right. Yeah, that is right still. Okay, brilliant. So now let's just preview it, and there you go. You've got your character's eye moving, your beak moving, the eyes and the tummy moving, and it's moving from left and right, up and down, and into all the corners. So that's up and down. Okay. Now what you want to do is go to the facial animation setup. So this is where you can make it so the eyes move a certain position of outside the eye whites, so the irises. So you can move so they left and right. You can get it so they do quite extreme movements, which I must admit I quite like doing. So we'll bring that eye up, the iris, and then we'll bring the iris down. Bring it so it's in the center of the screen. Bring it down a bit so it's not completely outside the eye. Yep. Move the little small position up to the center. And we'll do the same for the other eye. So we'll bring that iris over to the left. Bring that iris over to the right. Bring that iris up. Bring the iris down. And then we'll bring that down in size a bit and reposition it into the center of the eye. And then we'll bring the small iris there, so there you go. Sometimes it looks a bit odd actually when I do the preview inside this, but then it normally works actually okay when I've got it inside the actual animation bit. So let's double check that. So that's, yeah. Okay. So now we'll come back out of it, back onto our stage mode, and there's our character. So I'm going to save the character out. It's always a good thing to do. So I'll go back into the composer mode, sorry, and save that out as a character. Okay, go back to our composer mode. Our stage mode. And then let's just see if all these little sprites are in there. So if we go to face, you'll see, yep, we've got the smile. We haven't got many sprites in there. We've got the smile open and closed. And then for the eye, we've got the eye open and the eye closed. And we've got the beak. And there you go, that's a very quick tutorial, well actually no it's not, it's a very long tutorial on how you can do a very basic little character. Okay, now you've got your character all rigged up in the 360 head creator, it's now time to just quickly test here. So as you can see the head's now moving. So what you want to do is let's just bring in a little basic background. Let's find where I put the little background. There you go. Okay, there's a little background. And then what we'll do, this isn't really a tutorial for animating, that'll be in another tutorial, but what we will do, we will have the head looking over there. Now if you just click on the little eyes there, we can then move the eyes over to the right. And then we'll go forward a few frames. And then we have it so the eyes suddenly look over into the corner, which is great. And then we'll have a few frames of the head then turning. And we'll have the head up there for a few seconds. Like that. And then we'll have the eyes, the head looking down. What I want to do though is have the eyes looking down like that. Keep the head down there for a little while. Go forward a few frames. Then the head goes back there again. So what you want to do is just have it so the eyes turn like that. Okay, so we'll make it so it's 85 seconds, 85 frames long. This is just a quick test, it's just so we can see some movement happening. And then what we'll do, let's just open up the timeline a little bit. And what we'll do, we'll have it so there's a quick blink. So if you go to the sprite editor, go to face, find your eye sprites. So there we'll have it so that the left eye closes, right eye closes. Let's go forward a few frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'll have it so they're open. Like that. And then there we'll do it so they close again. So left eye closes, right eye closes. Go forward a few frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Have it so the left eye opens, right eye opens. So let's have a quick look at that. Okay, it's good. And then what we'll do, we'll have it so there, we'll have it so the beak opens just for a couple of seconds. So go back to the face, click on the mouth, and we'll have it so it's open. Forward a few frames, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go to let's have it so it's open for a little bit longer than that. So it stays open. So it only opens for a frame or so, then closes again. Another little frame in there. Might be a bit quick actually in the first one. Yeah, there's a little glitch in there, but we can fix that. Fix that on another tutorial. So that just gives you an idea of basically how you rig the 360 head, and a very simple overview on how you animate it. Do the head turn, do the eyes blinking, do the eyes moving, and swapping out a couple of sprites.